Hi, everybody. It's Jill here with Illuminating Women. And during this COVID-19, where we are all sheltering in place, does not give us the opportunity to stop learning and growing and sharpening our tools. And today we're having another one of our member-led workshops. These workshops are a powerful opportunity to you to connect to yourself, to learn new skills, to keep working on the other skills that you may have and want, and just to stay above the fray and the noise and the fear that so many of us may be living in. And I am beyond thrilled that this beautiful woman, this incredible coach, I've known Aubrey for a while, and she spoke at our second conference, wowed everybody because she teaches you how to empower yourself, how to stand in your truth, how to shine really bright. And right now she's been out there trying to really support people during this time. And in this video that will be on our YouTube channel, I will have all the information in the write-up below. So if you want to reach out and work with Aubrey or you want to learn more, you can absolutely do that. So without any more, will you please welcome Aubrey? Thank you for coming today and teaching us about getting grounded and about shifting that paradigm. I'm excited to learn today. Thank you.
Yay. Well, Jill, thank you so much for inviting me. It's my pleasure to show up and serve and support, and particularly to support the Illuminating Women, because it is a dark time right now that we are in the midst of, and there's never been a more important time for us all to shine bright and shine our lights and really step up into who we're being called into becoming and who we're being called into being. So it's my honor and my privilege to show up and serve in the best way I know how. We do have a few folks here live, and many will be watching on the replay. So if you've ever done any one of my workshops or seminars before, you know that I'm an interactive speaker, and I don't like to talk at you. I want you to engage with me. So for those of you that are here live, and I even invite those watching the replay to participate along, even if it might feel a little silly. So first and foremost, I want your permission. Do we have permission today to play a little and be a little silly? Yes. Okay, good. It's so important, especially when there's these heavy times, that we find some balance and we take the opportunities to find levity, to bring our hearts more joy and create openings there. So for structure for today, I'm going to lead us through a little bit of a journey. And then through that journey, there's going to be an opportunity for those of us that are here live to speak your voice into the worlds that we're creating. So allow yourself to really take in the information and be spurred. And up until that point, if I say anything that resonates with you, we're going to have a little fun today. If I say anything that resonates with you, give me a uh-huh and some sparkle fingers. All right. So let's start by taking a few deep breaths. So breathing in. Another deep breath in. And even a deeper breath in the last two. Really feel your chest and your lungs expand. And on that exhale, feel free to make noise and really give yourself a big release on that exhale. So one more deep breath in. And as you're breathing, continue to do that deep breathing. And as you're breathing in, I want you to now start to feel the bottoms of your feet. Feel the groundedness of the earth underneath you. And just allow your mind to settle. Allow your focus to drop into your body and into your breath. we're accustomed to living in a busy go, go, go world, that the opportunity of this pause, of this slowing down, gives us opportunity to really practice a new way of being. And part of that is just to take time to ground and center, to bring our focus away from what we were doing and what we're going to do in the future, and bring yourself fully present to the right here, right now. And as you're breathing in, and just feel the life force energy enter you. Feel the preciousness of life as you're breathing in. And as you're letting go, really allow any stress, any strain, any tension to melt off of you as you exhale. Okay, we're going to take one more collective breath together. And a big exhale. And then I just want to check in with those of us live, and you can unmute yourself to answer. Do you feel differently now, just after a few minutes? And what do you?
I love breathing.
Yes, it's so important, isn't it, Kelly?
Mhm.
Breathing is so important.
Yes, and I always also, like you, encourage women to make a sound when they're exhaling and not to be afraid of giving that breath any kind of sound, even if it's just very simple, and how much more it releases when we exhale.
Yes, thank you.
I always appreciate the breathing techniques, because I noticed when I started doing yoga years ago, I don't breathe deep like that unless it's a conscious thought to do so. And I'm not hyperventilating or anything, but my natural breaths are much shorter and shallower breaths than intentional breathing.
Yeah. And are you noticing a difference, a shift in your body? Like, how does your body feel different? How does your mind feel different now after some intentional breathing?
It's relaxed and good.
Yeah, great. Jill, anything from you?
Yeah, I like the fact that you get not only with the breathing, and you're right, the breathing out is that in doing so, and you're right, in making the sounds like we did when I gave birth. I loved it when my midwife said, "Scream if you want to scream." And it just kind of reminded me that sometimes maybe we just kind of need to scream through that breath. I guess the thing that I really love is you have us get present. Have us get right where to currently now, so that we can quit the because rarely right now our minds are like in this odd time. And I love the fact that you got us centered and into now.
Great, great, perfect. So I just pause here to give some consciousness to the power of simple intentional breathing. And so this is a tool that we all have, and a reminder to use. So when you're starting to feel like that scattered, like, oh, you're future tripping, you're the stress, the anxiety, when we hear the news, like it's a trauma response. When we hear something, like I've watching the news and paying attention, and we'll see things and we'll go, and we stop breathing. And so it's just so important to keep the breath. And particularly right now, with the illness, with this COVID-19 illness that's striking people, it's impacting our lungs, and it's impacting our ability to breathe. And I've been really leaning into the spiritual side of this situation for the last month, and asking for guidance, and really dipping myself further into that realm than ever before. And the clear messages that I'm getting right now is that our lungs, it's the breath of life. The first thing that we do when we enter this world is we breathe. And the last thing that we do when we exit this world is we take that last breath. And right now there's so many people on the planet that are struggling to breathe. and all of us that are breathing shallow, like we're only breathing to right here, right? And so in a way, we can find unity and commonality with our fellow humans on the planet just simply through our breath. So let us healthy, full-lunged folks be able to breathe and even offer a breath on behalf of those that can't breathe deep enough to satisfy their airways. The other thing I'm really present to is the lungs represent grief. And when we have lung issues, it's because there is grief that has not been met well, has not been seen, has not been honored, and it's been overshadowed. And that's what we do in our society today is we stuff our emotions. We only let the happy, positive ones out, and we stuff everything else. And right now, I'm a big advocate of letting go of this notion that you need to keep it all together. Like all of us are just like, we're holding the reins and trying to keep the train on the track. And I really want to invite everyone that's exhausted from doing that to give yourself permission to let go of control. And it's really okay to fall apart right now. It really is okay to fall to your knees and sob and express the grief that you're feeling. Whether that's your own personal grief, whether this is triggering events in your past as grief does, or whether you may be an empathic person that is tapping into the collective grief in the collective consciousness. So it's important for us to really feel right now and not do this thing where it's like a spiritual bypass where we just operate on top of all these really intense emotions. And it's really our responsibility to actually feel these emotions, to be able to move them through so it doesn't get stuck in our bodies, and then we are not dealing with the impact of that down the road. And so this is part of the full human experience. It's the highs and the lows. Now, not everybody knows this, but we all love joy, right? Like we all want to be in joy. We all want to be happy. We all want to be in that like positive, uplifted mood. But did you know that if you cheat yourself on expressing grief or anger or frustration or whatever some of those lower vibration emotions are, we are actually limiting how much joy we can hold. And so that's the mindset that I hold when I'm in these places of expressing deep sorrow, deep grief, frustration, anger, whatever those emotions might be. I know that I'm carving the way out. I'm carving the way out for more joy. I'm scooping the goop, if you will, out of myself and getting all of that out and moving through so I can be clean and clear as a vessel for the light and to do light work on the planet. So while it's uncomfortable, maybe unfamiliar, nobody loves to have a breakdown where you're just sobbing and you're a hot mess. Nobody loves that. Nobody wakes up in the morning going, I'm going to have a breakdown today and it's going to be spectacular, right? But it may be knocking on your door and saying, hello, I'm over here, pay attention to me. And ladies, the one thing I got to say after working with so many women that have ignored that knocking on the door to have illness or disease, find their way into their life and having to deal with that is wildly uncomfortable as it is to deal with that breakdown knocking on the door. It's so much easier than dealing with whatever illness or disease might find their way to you because you're not moving the things through your body. Right? Dis-ease is not being at ease in your body. And our bodies hold so much intelligence, body wisdom. Our bodies tell us. Like for me, I've been really paying attention to anxiety, right? I can feel anxiety right here. And so I've been working on as soon as I feel it, I just really focus on breathing and I stop everything and I just breathe until that anxiety moves through. So this is one way that we can honor the loss that's happening on the planet right now. We've had tens of thousands of people die from this pandemic. We've had people lose far greater than that. I think I saw 10 million Americans alone have lost their jobs over the last 3 weeks. There's an more enormous amount of loss. And one way that we can honor that loss and have it transform into, compost for us to be able to grow new life from is to really feel it. So it has the impact. It can do some good in the world. So here in a little bit, stay tuned. Here in a little bit, I'm going to read you all a poem. But before, I'll hold on to that. So in this exploration of grief, grief's been knocking on my door. I've spent the last 2 years on a personal journey with grief, and I've been in deep relationship with grief. And since this pandemic has come about, grief and I have been in a lot of conversations. And the question that was really working me about a month ago with this pandemic was, how do we feed grief? How do we nourish grief? How do we satiate grief so it feels seen and heard, just like we want to feel seen and heard? And I started asking some of my spirit sisters, how do we do these things? How do we feed grief, or how do we nourish grief? And, we came up with some answers. One was just by meeting it and recognizing it and welcoming it in and treating it as though it's a friend, a long lost friend. Part of it is expressing it, letting the tears flow. Part of it is poetry, reading poetry as a way to feed and nourish, because so much poetry has its roots in grief. And beauty is salve for our wounds, and poetry can just really be a great way. Many of you know that if you've been around me, you've probably heard me talk about crygasms in the past. And what a crygasm is, it's a term that I coined over the last few years of doing this deep work. And what it is, it's that moment where you feel all those emotions just well up, and they well up to like right here, right? So instead of doing what we normally do, get back in your box, stay there, right? Instead of doing that, we actually just open the floodgates, and we just open and we allow it to move through us. And for me, that experience has been the path and the key to freedom. Freedom has come through crygasms for me, because I just get to let it move. And the freedom that I feel after that has moved through me, I'm expansive. There's so much more space in me. I can hold so much more. I notice things like irritabilities and grumpiness and crankiness and all of those things just get swept right on out with it. And so this notion of a crygasm, and a lot of times, the first couple might last a little bit longer, but if you get into regular practice, they last about 90 seconds, 60 to 90 seconds. And the beauty of this particular work is, using crygasms as a tool, is that it gives it an outlet, so that emotion doesn't come out sideways when you're with your husband or your spouse or your partner or your kids or your team or your coworkers or the cable guy or whoever it might be, the barista, whoever it might be that you might be extra sharp to, or maybe you yell at or what have you. And so it just allows all those emotions to go someplace in a really healthy way, as opposed to coming out sideways and just smearing your stuff all over everyone else, because we just don't need that. And as women who are meant to shine and who are born to lead the way, we were all born and we chose to be here right now. We chose that. Like, this is the moment we've been waiting for. Some of us we've had the premonition. We didn't know what it was going to look like. I know I had this premonition 7 years ago that something apocalyptic would happen and I needed to prepare myself. And I started running. I had no idea. But my body said, you need to be strong. You need to run. You need to prepare because there is something happening in the future. And I feel like this is that time, that premonition. And I've talked to many of us, like, so I knew something. I didn't know what it was, but this is the time that we were here so that we can shine a light for others. There's people behind us that need us to light the pathway on how to move forward. And we all have a different way of doing it. And that's the beautiful thing. We get to have our own way. We don't need to follow somebody else's way. So if you're somebody that you're comparing, right? We do this comparison as women. We look over here and go, oh, she's doing this. And we look over there and we're like, oh, she's doing that. And I'm not doing that. And I'm not doing that. Awesome. I'm so glad you're not doing that, because that's her path and that's her path. And it's really about calling you forward to have the courage to take the first step on your path. And you don't even have to know what it is. All you need to know is, what's that first step? And chances are you've got a voice in your head whispering maybe somebody's name. You know, maybe there's been somebody that keeps popping up in your awareness that you're meant to connect with. Oftentimes when we find ourselves in this kind of low place, we're not feeling really good about ourselves and we're doing that compare-itis, the best thing that we can do for ourselves and for others is to show up and support and serve someone else. I say that with a caveat. You have to take care of yourself first. You have to get yourself in a place where you can be able to serve. So sparkle fingers here, some ahas. Yeah, sparkle fingers. Yeah. And I'll share with you, I'll be really open and honest, the first 2 to 3 weeks of March, this hit me like a load of bricks. Like, I got the full download, and as an empath, as a woman who tracks global streams of consciousness, it hit me like a house fell on top of me. And a lot of us are finding ourselves in that trauma response, right? You've got the flight, the fight, or the freeze. And I found myself frozen for almost 3 weeks. Frozen. I couldn't help anyone. I couldn't even help myself. And I'm somebody, I have a history, I have a family lineage of clinically severe depression. And it's a walk that I am constantly walking. And I know I'm not alone in that. And this time, it takes us to our edge to look over that and go, oh, is that where I'm heading? Right? And so we need to make sure that we are tending to ourselves and making sure that we have a strong support network. And there are times that you may not even be able to reach out, right? Like Jill has been amazing with this group. And she said, if you need anything, you reach out and you contact me. And I'll put myself in that bucket. If you need something, you reach out and you contact me. And I know how hard it is to do that when you need it the most. And so I'm going to give you another little tip that my close inner network of girlfriends and I, we came up with an emergency code because it was just so much easier than doing the texting of like, I'm in a bad spot, I need help. Because sometimes you can't even do that. But we can send one emoji. We can send that one emoji. And so we each had this conversation after I was in this like dark place, and I'm just in my mind going, oh my God, I'm in trouble. Oh my God, I need somebody to help pull me out. And they heard me through the inner web that runs through us and connected. And so now we have an emoji emergency code that if I send them a turtle, because I clam up, my head goes in, my legs go in, and I'm just like that empty turtle shell. And that they now know that if I send them a turtle, it's an SOS signal. That means I have withdrawn and I'm not communicative. And even though it's almost like I'm paralyzed, right? I'm stuck in that freeze response. I want to communicate, but I can't. And so we all have our different versions. And so it's really important, if you are currently in that place, if nothing else, just send somebody that you trust an emoji that indicates where you're at. And even if it's a red X, right? Something. And then that can get just a little bit of momentum going for you, because then that person can circle back. So stay connected with each other, build your support group. This is the time where we need to use all the tools we've been learning. We have been accumulating all these tools over the years, and we need to use every single one of them right now. And we need to learn new ones, which is why I'm sprinkling in a bunch in here. So I'm going to pause for a moment. So bringing us back to this place of the full human experience and allowing ourselves to really be in the lows, not to wallow there, not to get stuck there, but to feel it and move it, right? I also want to invite you to be in a place of grace, having grace with yourself. Please don't hold yourself to the same expectations that you were holding yourself to 2 months ago. We aren't living in the same world we were 2 months ago. We're living in this world right now. And hopefully we're only going to live through something like this once. And it'll go by quickly. I know it's longer than what we wanted, but all in all, it's going to go by quickly. It'll be done before we know it. So allow this to be the opportunity that you really deepen your practice of grace. Now, I had to look up the word grace. I love the root and the origins. So grace has a few different meanings. And there's 3 that I picked out that I really loved. So grace, meaning simple elegance. Grace, meaning free, unmerited favor. And grace, meaning due honor to one's presence. So I love that one of like free, unmerited favor, meaning you didn't do anything to deserve the grace, but you're going to give it anyway, right? So give that to yourself. Allow yourself to really take this time to tend to those self-care practices that you've been meaning to get to, but you never have because you never had the time, right? That morning meditation practice that you've always been meaning to do, or your daily yoga, or your spirituality practices, or whatever those are. Allow yourself permission to really do those things now. This is the time of expanding your capacity. You are expanding your capacity. Who you become on the other side of this experience is a completely different woman. So just know that's part of what's transpiring right now. So, yeah. So tapping into this place of honor, of grief, of beauty, of appreciation, of joy, of pleasure. We're in springtime right now, and the spring reminds us of new life, of new growth. It reminds us the fragility of life, the preciousness of life. It also brings great beauty that allows our hearts to be touched and to be open. And particularly as women, we are strong enough and powerful enough to be able to hold the both and, to hold the preciousness of life and the understanding of the loss that's present right now, and to be able to relish in the possibilities that new life brings us, and the beauty and the joy. And this is the human experience. This is why we came, is to fully experience both ends of these spectrums. So with that, I invite us all to step into this place of creation. Women's bodies know how to create. We create life all the time, whether that's through having children, birthing businesses, ideas, connections, communities. our bodies were designed for creation. And our bodies know how to be in the mystery and in the place of the unknown. Women's bodies know how to be in the deep unknown. And that's the time that we're in now. We're in the unknown. We don't know what the future is going to hold for us. And I personally get really excited about that, because to me, that means it's not written yet. We can still have an impact. We can still be in a place of creation, and we can actually create this future world that we're going to be birthed into. There is so much amazing things happening on the planet right now. We are seeing so much outreach. We are seeing so many people helping each other right now. We are seeing an end to war. We are seeing, vulnerable communities who are normally out of sight, out of mind, or forgotten, really be having a light shine on them and say, how do we support these vulnerable communities? How do we make sure people have food and shelter and a safe place to live? Right? And so I'm going to invite all of us, we're going to interact here and unmute yourself, but I'm going to pose a few questions, and then I want a collective, what are we creating in this world together? So what is this new world that we're going to create? What values do we hold dear that have been illuminated to us during this time, right? Contrast of the darkness and the light gives us illumination of what's important. What actions will we take that reflect our values? Will we value human life over comfort and convenience? Will we realize the impact that we have on each other and on our planet? Will we value slowing down and spending more time with our loved ones, enjoy making our own food again, enough to continue to make these a priority once we don't have to? Will we call forward a new model of leadership that demonstrates value for human life, accountability for shortcomings, and decisions based on data and the love of our planet and our people? Think about, what are we calling forward? So open it up. I want to hear your voices. And again, if you're watching on the replay, add your voice to this mix. It really does make a difference. What world do you want to create? What are you seeing right now that you want to keep and continue to fan the flames and create that momentum? So I'm opening the floor.
I'll go ahead and go first. I think it's so interesting you brought this up, because one thing that became so evident to me with this pandemic was the word leadership.
Mm-hmm.
A deep dive into looking at what is good leadership.
Yes.
And it's not only compassion and understanding, but you nailed it. It was also taking responsibility. And when we stand up and I am responsible, the buck stops here. I made these mistakes. And I also, because how the universe and the world just kind of opens up, because I started looking at that, and because I am in leadership roles,
Mm-hmm.
are in leadership roles. And as soon as I started asking the questions, I had 2 people reach out to me, not just wanting to meet with me, and via Zoom like we're doing, and just talked a lot about leadership. And I thought, how beautiful and how ironic that was the case, that the leadership piece was something I need to take a look more on building my own leadership skills so that I can be in greater service.
I'm with you, Jill. And of course, that's what I do. Leadership is what I do and who I work with. And so my eyes are extra on that. And you're right. I'm watching leadership all over the place, from the highest levels down to the person next door, and just watching great examples of leadership and really terrible ones. And one of the things that I want to call forward in this new life, in this new paradigm, is an accountable culture and getting away from blame. There is a difference. We
Please.
can be accountable without blaming and this finger pointing business. And so I really want, particularly that's part of my mission on the planet, is help teach people how to be accountable versus blaming, and looking at our contribution to how do we all contribute to what's happening. And so I hear you. I give you sparkle fingers for the leadership piece. How about for you, Kelly?
One of the things that's really becoming more clear to me, and it's something I've been aware of some time, and I was thinking back to when you were talking about the importance of breath and how you will hear something and go and have this gasp and catch your breath.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that is happening on such a global level. Everybody who's watching the news all at the same time, hearing the same thing at the same time, and having this rush of global or national energy going into that.
Yeah.
And how important, more important than ever it is for light workers to understand that we are joining our energy in calling light and love into the situation, calling hope and encouragement and inspiration, and finding the questions like you're asking us today. And just how essential it is that we are taking responsibility for our own energy and directing it instead of, and responding rather than reacting. And that when we, how important it is when we all do that together. I love the global meditation events that are happening. I even love the, it's 8 o'clock, go out and howl. I mean, it's such a joining of different energy. And I was thinking about when you were talking about a breakdown and how when we allow for it and trust that there is most of the time always a breakthrough after a breakdown. And if we lean into that breakdown and trust that it's leading to a breakthrough, it helps us to navigate those waters of breakdown.
Yeah.
And it's something that we can help share with others. I, as a coach, work more with individuals, and I'm finding that people who keep themselves, have kept themselves busy, are suddenly alone or not busy, and they have to face all the stuff they've been avoiding on top of what's actually happening globally. And when we, even if it's just one person to one person, it creates a ripple effect energetically, and that we can make that difference. And so for me, I believe that one of the things that this time is awakening for us is that sense of energetic connection.
Yeah, I hear you. So let's call in this new world, this new way of being, that we value ourselves enough and we trust ourselves enough to be able to be with what's true for us, instead of this old pattern and habit of glossing over and keeping ourselves busy as a form of distraction. It is a spiritual bypass.
Yes.
And so let's call forward deeper, authentic living.
And I think I like to call this the fertile void. When all that can be shaken is shaken and stripped away, we stand in the fertile void. Just in the springtime, we can think about fields that have just been plowed, and they just stand there ready. They're an opportunity for whatever will grow there. And many will feel fear or anxiety when facing the fertile void, because we're used to everything being filled up. And for me, I relish the fertile void, because I know something else is happening. Something is coming. I can let go of, I like the term between trapezes. I can let go of one trapeze and fly through the air and trust that the next trapeze will be there for me to catch. But not everybody is in that place right now. And all we can do is spread that love and that hope and that message that we will get through this together, and we can join energy and love rather than fear.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you for the beautiful image of the fertile void. I love that. Like the practice of simply being and being receptive to what's coming next without having to have it yet. Just that place of being in the nothingness and the waiting. I love that. Thank you. Nature's such a good teacher, huh? Everything that we need to know, we can look to nature and she will show us the way. Yeah. Denise, do you have anything that you want to add your voice here to the creation of this new world?
It's just along the lines of what we've already talked about. And I'm an optimist and always looking for the silver lining in things. So I mean, from the very beginning of this, I have felt in the depth of my soul that good was going to come out of it. And I'm empathic, so I have a great deal of compassion for the people that are suffering right now. But I also feel like you were talking about in the leadership role, that from the standpoint of, you know, Oprah used to talk about, we get the whisper, and then we get, you know, if we don't listen to the whisper, we get the nudge, and, you know, and if we continue not listening, it's the 2x4 upside the head. And this is kind of the 2x4 upside the head, if you will, collectively. No one is escaping this. It's not impacting one country. It's not impacting one race. It's impacting everyone. So, I mean, it's really kind of an equalizer, impacting all of us to do the same thing in terms of, you talked about it in terms of leadership, and Jill's in the leadership position. I'm not in a leadership position, but I have felt very empowered to make a difference. Kelly talked about these global meditations. I've been doing one that started on March 16th, every morning at 6 a.m. And it's been really powerful. And I very much have felt like it's making a difference collectively, sending that out there, even for people who are not participating, that we are sending that out into the world, that we're staying healthy ourselves, that we're staying calm ourselves, that we're sending that out, whether it's in our homes, in our communities, at the grocery store, wherever we are out, to be out there and have that calm around makes a difference for everybody. I think it's I'm not in the medical field, but it's an area that I can take personal responsibility to help heal, whether it's in my family or in my community, and participate in that and support people in that way.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for speaking into the circle. And, you know, I heard you say that place of like, I'm not in a leadership role. And I'm a big believer that leadership is not a title or a position. It is a state of mind and a state of being. And we're all leaders. We all lead simply as a way in how we live our life. We're leading a way of living. And so I want every single person that watches this video to hear this, to say, you are a leader. You are a leader, and people are watching you, and you are having influence and impact that you may not even realize. So I want you to one, recognize that and feel emboldened and empowered to really take it to the next level of being a leader and letting loose your voice. Our voice is one of our most powerful tools as a leader. And how do we speak more about the things that matter and the things that are important, and do it with this place of compassion and love and a lifting up, right? Like maybe this is the first time ever all the people on the planet have been unified. Oh my goodness, what an opportunity we have. We're all unified. We're all in the same boat for the first time ever. Oh, what good, amazing stuff could come out of this.
And I'm so glad you said that about with Denise, because every time she comes to any of our Illuminating Women events, people gravitate to her in a sense, because she just has a way to look at you deep to your soul and hug her. And I got to tell you, I have had so many women come up to me and say, I've never met her before, and I just met her tonight. Wow, I want more of her. and it's just so beautiful because that is her leadership and where she's going, and she's on this wonderful journey. I met her through a workshop, retreat, and she's on this beautiful journey, and it's delicious to watch. So I thank you for that. I do have a question, because I realized when Denise brought this up, it was a question of how do we us empath women, because I think empath women, there's a different sense than empath men. And so for us empath women, how do we handle when those times, I mean, I can be just minding my own P's and Q's, and all of a sudden I'll just get this hit and I'll see something and I'll feel it. Well, and you're right, there's that breath, and I pray into it. I ask for angels to be around. I don't know what, or I might see what it is. But Denise brought something that I'm still grappling, and I find myself kind of doing this. And that is, I feel the pain. And because I saw a lot of this kind of stuff forthcoming, and I could see what was going to happen to children and women. And, it's starting to come out. Yeah, there's more abuse. There's more of this. There's more of that. And I'm just like, whoa. And sometimes it's too much. And I'm looking for, different, I stop, meditate, pray, that sort of thing. But as empaths, do you have any type of tips that can help us when we, in other words, we're watching this and we're crying, but we're also crying and we're tasting salt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can certainly share with you mine, and Kelly, you might have some too you want to share as well. First and foremost, for me, I have learned that it's important as an empath, somebody who absorbs other people's emotions and can actually feel them. It's important that for me that I've learned to create an energy shield around me that I do daily. And so that helps. So I'm not just a wide open vessel for everything to get sucked into and feel everything. And part of the shielding, and I'm happy to, to work with you one-on-one, Jill, or if anybody else wants this information, I'm happy to do it on a one-on-one basis with you. And this shielding, what it does is it helps you keep your own energy contained in your own energy field, and not from getting sucked out or for allowing others to come into it. So that helps. And then the other place I go to is just when I'm feeling it, of course, the breath that we've talked to, but I really drop into a place of gratitude, even amongst the pain, right? It's just like, oh my God, I can feel the pain of that woman, or what have you, whatever it is that you're feeling. And I just drop into this deep place of gratitude of thank you for your contribution. Thank you for your contribution of what is being created and birthed through this. Right. And so I just give great thanks. And for me personally, it adds a little bit to my responsibility to how I show up in the world. Right. Like that energy, that vibration found its way to me. And so I now walk on behalf, I now talk on behalf of, like, I've got that woman and fields full of them behind me, of people of alive or not, back here, that I'm almost like the ambassador for. They may not have a voice, but I have a voice, right? And so it's this confluence place of feeling and breathing and giving thanks and responsibility, and almost like now I'm a steward for that. So that's probably a really messy answer to your question. And I'll open it up if Kelly has, because that's a great question, if Kelly has anything else she wants to add, or if anyone else on the call has anything to add to that.
This leads me back to the thought of grace, of giving ourselves and others grace. I believe there's a deep well of grace to draw from. I believe that for me right now, I need to be very aware of what is mine to carry. Mm-hmm. Every day I ask myself, what is my personal, reasonable response to what's ahead of me and what's facing us? Sometimes when I go to draw from the well of grace about a situation and I feel that I'm not tapping into it, that's a sign to me that I'm trying to pick up and carry something that is not mine to carry. because I believe anytime I'm carrying something that is mine to carry, I have an unending well and supply of grace. I think many of us feel helpless when we get that energy washing through us, because what can I do for the girls and women in China or the other places? And yet, if I trust that, okay, I'm getting that feeling for a reason, like you said, Aubrey, and send that wash of love and light, or check myself for what is my reasonable response to this? What can I do to make a difference? And then follow through and do that, and then release what isn't mine to carry. And trust that what I did do, whether it was just sending energy into the situation or writing a card or posting something on Facebook that is a truth and an encouragement or whatever, once I've done that, it's releasing that energy and not carrying it. Yeah.
Great. Thanks. All right. I want to open it up for anyone else, Sharon, or anyone else on the call that wants to put in your thoughts, your creation, your love, your what have you for this new world that we're all stepping into and co-creating together. Okay. I'm going to take that silence and a pause that there's nothing new to add, and if there is, there's still time. So now I want to read you a poem. This is a really impactful poem, and it's one that I am really walking with right now to help me make sense of all the different things that are showing up. And then we'll close with a heart meditation. So this poem is by Rumi, and it's called The Guest House. You might be familiar with it. The guest house. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they are crowds of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whatever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. So this is part of how I give myself grace, right? When I get mad, frustrated, I want to say a bunch of FUs. I get just super like worked up about when I see a presidential news conference or whatever it is, right? Because we're trained not to be angry. We're trained not to, you know, have some of those lower emotions. And so this poem really reminds me to welcome them all. Welcome them all, invite them in, pour them tea, feed them a snack. Treat each one of those emotions, treat each one of those unexpected visitors that comes to you as though they were your guest, with your fine china and your heartfelt connection. Because each of them has been sent as a guide from beyond. And we have no idea how this moment is leading to the next moment, is leading to the next moment. But sometimes we're fortunate enough we can look back and go, oh. And I know we're going to look back at this time and go, oh, some of the lights are going to go on. So a consideration for you as we continue to navigate this time together is when you look back at this time and 6 weeks or 6 months or 6 years or 20, how do you want to remember this time? How do you want to be during this time? And not to make how you've been doing it wrong, but simply to remind you that you have a choice. You have a choice on how you want to be. And sometimes the simple choice is just to empower how you are. And that's the only change you need to do, is simply empower it. Okay, I'm feeling really down today. I can feel all the grieving, and my heart is sad today. Okay, empower being sad today. Live it up. Get the most out of the sadness. Don't cheat your grief. You know, don't be running that tape of, I'm supposed to be doing something else right now, more productive, more whatever. So give yourself that grace, empower where you're at, and create some gifts, create some beauty out of these times. So with that, let's step into a heart meditation with each other. So invite you just to sit up, maybe pull your shoulders back, just like open up that heart space in your body. I always like to feel my body to like help me actually get in it. So just go ahead and open your heart. And I want you to think of a fond memory, maybe a connection with a loved one, a parent, a child, a girlfriend, a spouse, a lover. Tune into that vibration and that frequency of your heart being open and joyful, and really in that blissful, oh my goodness, everything is just so freaking amazing moments, those magical, blissful moments that you've had in your life. And so allow your heart to tune to that frequency, that vibration. And if you're having a hard time, I'm going to offer you a few images to maybe help get you in that space. So maybe it's that super cute puppy that you saw on your walk, or hearing a baby laugh, or seeing that sweet, tender moment between a parent and a child. Or maybe it's watching the sweetness of an elderly couple walking down the street together. Or maybe it's just that perfect sunny day with the perfect temperature and the conditions exactly how you like them on your perfect sunny day. So just allow your heart to tune to that vibration. The vibration of love, of beauty, of appreciation, of joy, of freedom. And just breathe and allow yourself to feel that resonance move through your whole body. And as you start taking some deeper breaths, really allowing that bright frequency to all of a sudden your whole body starting to light up. And as you're breathing in that life force energy, allowing your whole body to tune to the vibration of love, of light, of peace, of freedom. And just imagine all of a sudden you become a beam of light, shooting up into the heavens for all to see. And as you notice your own light, all of a sudden you're noticing my light and her light and her light. And all of a sudden you can see all these lights. Boom, 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 boom. Turning on, shining bright, shining up toward the heavens. And then you start to notice that those lights, they're actually growing. They're getting stronger and wider and thicker. And some of those lights are joining forces, and instead of just becoming single streams of light, they're getting massively bigger. And everything around these beams of light is getting lifted up. It's the ripple effect. And the more we shoot our lights of love out, just imagine that Care Bear stare shooting out of you, out into the universe. All of a sudden, these lights, we start to find each other. We're like magnetic to each other. And we find our way, and our lights join forces, and they become even bigger, even brighter than what was possible just on our own. And now all of a sudden you can see that there are more bigger, brighter streams of lights, and even more single lights turning on. And as you notice, you can start to see the big picture. You can see the globe. You can see all the lights around the globe. And the pockets of the big, strong, vibrant lights. And the pockets of the single lights. And yes, there's even pockets of no light. But as we continue to breathe and be in this vibration of pure love, pure life force, it ripples out, and there's more and more light. And it's from this place that we create. It's from this place that we put out our intentions and our dreams for our future. It's from this place that we send blessings. We send blessings to all those that are affected, all those who have experienced loss, and offer them the salve of love. We send blessings to all the leaders that have to make important decisions. We send them blessings of the light, that they make good decisions for the benefit of all. That we take this opportunity of the unity of all of us on the planet to take a giant step forward in our own humankind, in our own humanity. May the love, the generosity, the sweetness, the care that has emerged, may it grow and continue. May it take root and flower and bloom for future generations to come. May the healing of our Mama Earth that she's received while we've all been sent to our rooms, may we be touched by her beauty and reminded of our impact. And may we really understand that, yes, we really are capable of massive change in very quick periods of time. That we have proven to ourselves that if we set our minds to something, we can move mountains overnight. And that we can do what's necessary to build a future where we're all sustained, where we all have what we need. Because there's plenty enough for us all when we come together in that generosity of spirit with each other. Open it up in case there's any blessings that anyone else wants to add.
That was beautiful. I just have to share my dog is laying next to me and been a little alert, and she'd get a little growly, but we were halfway through that and I heard her do this deep sigh. So it absolutely felt through all of this. It's just beautiful, beautiful. Oh gosh. Well, I'm going to stop the recording, and I want to again thank you so much for giving of your time to share with us. I have 2 pages of notes that I am going to journal on and work with, because I love the visual of this as an opportunity as women when we birth and create and what, because it's like the whole new slate for us to be able to do something new and create it, and it is our opportunity. So many beautiful tips. And so can we all just do one of these and thank you so much, or one of these? Yes. And thank you everybody for tuning in today. This is available on video. Maybe you need to watch this a couple times. Maybe you want to watch this a couple times. Share this with your friends and family with lots of love. Thank you. Blessed everybody. Have a wonderful day.
Yeah, go shine and sparkle out there, ladies.